Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Mr. Payne bringing you Unit 2, Lesson 3, Linear Equation Solving. Let's take a look at exercise number 1. Solve these two-step equations using what you learned last night. Some of these answers will be non-integer rational numbers. Simplify when possible. Let's talk about that real quick. Non-integer rational numbers. That just means that they may be fractions or healthy decimals. And that's not a problem. So let's use what we learned in Unit 2, Lesson 2, with reversing the operations. So what I see happening is dividing by 3 right here, and adding by 7. So the last thing that I would have done is add by 7. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to add 7 to both sides. I'm going to have x divided by 3 over positive 5. Now the operation that I see here is going on is division, so the opposite of division is going to be multiplication by 3. I'm going to multiply by 3. X is going to equal 15. Let's look at letter D now. When I'm looking at this operation, I see x plus 7, that's what I would do first, divided by 3. So if I want to reverse that, I'm going to multiply by 3 and then subtract by 7. So let's see if that method works. I'm going to multiply by 3 on both sides. And when I'm multiplying by 3, it's really 3 over 1. So this 3 cancels this 3 out. That's why this is what kids sometimes don't see. X plus 7 equals 6, minus 7 on both sides. X equals negative 1. Let's go to E. E can be done a couple different ways. I'm going to see that in here it's x minus 1, and then I would multiply by negative 6 if I were doing the order of operations. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, since I see multiplication right here, I'm going to use the division. I'm going to divide by negative 6 on both sides. And get negative 3. Add 1 on both sides. X equals negative 2. All right, let's take a look at example H. H, I'm going to show you a couple things that could be adjusted to this problem to rewrite it to make it a little easier and make it look like problems A and D. What you have to recognize is that negative sign, you can write that with the top, with the numerator, and you can also bring the x up top with the numerator, so that it can be written as negative 5x over 2 plus 6 equals 1. This is important because sometimes students have a hard time recognizing how to complete this problem. Now if we were talking about reverse operations, what I see first is multiplying by negative 5, then dividing by 2, and then adding 6. So if I were to do that in reverse order, I'd be subtracting 6 on both sides. Give me negative 5x over 2 equals negative 5. Then if I were to continue like I did with A, I would multiply by 2. And remember, it's 2 over 1, so that cancels out. It would be left with negative 5x. Multiply by 2 on this side, give me a negative 10. Now divide by negative 5. And x will give me 2. Now, as you watch this problem, you may have been taught several different ways to solve that problem. And there are different ways that you can solve that problem. I'm showing the most consistent and easiest way to set that problem up by bringing that x up and showing you guys that that x is with the numerator so that you can now solve that problem with ease. Now, Ms. Bell and Mr. O and myself would like you to do the rest of this page on your own. We will be looking at these to get full credit on your homework the next day. Let's take a look at exercise number 2. Solve the following equations for x by identifying the operations that have been done to x and reverse those operations. No different than what we did last night. We want to take a look at what's going on. So if I started with inside the x, I see subtracted by 3, multiplied by 5, divided by 8, adding 2. So let's write that down real quick. So I would see subtract 3 times 5, divide by 8, add 2. Remember, in order to solve these, I'm going to do it in red. I'm going to work in reverse order with the opposite operation. So I would say subtract 2, multiply by 8, divide by 5, add 3. This is multiply by 8. So let's try it. Subtract 2. And like I said before, that I think this really spells out how to solve an equation really nice. So if you're one of those students that are struggling with solving equations, this may have to be a common theme for you. 7 minus 2 is 5. And also, if you're not a struggling student, the Common Core, don't forget, is asking you to do this, to explain your procedure. So get in the habit of doing that. You may see that on your upcoming test. All right, the next thing I said was times 8, so I'm going to times by 8 on both sides. So that's going to give me 5 times x minus 3, because this 8 is going to cancel out with this 8, which equals 40. Divide by 5, because it says times 5 right there, so you do the opposite. Cancel, cancel. X minus 3 equals 8. Add 3 is the last step. X equals 11. All right, exercise number 3. Consider the equation here. By using the distributive property, write an equivalent expression for both sides of the equation. Show your work below. So I'm going to show you A. By using the distributive property, it means we're multiplying it in. So 5 times x gives me 5x. 5 times negative 3 gives me negative 15. Plus 2x equals, now multiply it again, 4 times x gives me 4x. 4 times 3 gives me positive 12. The last thing that you need to recognize is that I have a 5x and a 2x. Now what kids forget is this. Okay? They forget that 5x and 2x are on the same side. So just be like Nike and just do it. 5 plus 2 is 7x. You don't have to do opposite operations in order to solve that or simplify that expression on that side. The only time you have to do opposite operations is when I take this negative 4x right here, or this positive 4x right here, and I want to bring that over to the 7x by doing negative 4x. See how I move that? Why did I start with that guy? Well, one of the common themes is that I have the 7x on the left side and the 4x on the right side. I always ask which one is smaller. The 4x is smaller than the 7x, so I always move the smaller one to the larger one. Makes life easier. Cancels out. 7 minus 4x is 3x minus 15 plus 12. Now, I want to get x by itself. So let's move the negative 15 to the other side. So I'm going to do plus 15, plus 15. 3x equals 27. Divide by 3, divide by 3. X equals 9. All right, using the strategies we've used in this lesson and in lesson 2, let's solve this really complicated equation. The first thing that we're going to do is use the distributive property to break all these in. That's typically the best method to go ahead and start solving equations when you have parentheses. So 7 times x is going to give me 7x. 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. Negative 3 times x gives me a negative 3x. Negative 3 times positive 3 gives me a 9. Let's back that up. It's going to give me a negative 9. Make sure you keep and watch your signs. Equals 5 times x gives me 5x. 5 times negative 3 gives me negative 15. That x is not inside that parenthesis, so you do not distribute to that last x. You just bring it down. The next thing that I really would like you to pay attention to I always draw my fence down the middle right at my equal sign so that I don't get anything confused. Take a look at what I can simplify right off the get-go on the left-hand side. 7 minus 3x is going to give me 4x. Negative 14 and negative 9 is going to give me a negative 23. On the right-hand side, I have 5x and positive x, which is going to give me a 6x minus 15. Now let's take a look. The left-hand side has a 4x. The right-hand side has a 6x. So what I like to do is take that 4x to the 6x. It's the smaller one to the larger one. So I'm going to do minus 4x. Why did I do minus? Because I see addition, so I do the opposite. Cancels out. Negative 23. Stays right where it is. Just bring it down. 6 minus 4 is 2x. Minus 15. I see minus 15, so I'm going to add 15. Negative 23 plus 15 is going to give me 8. Negative 8. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. X equals negative 4. We would like you now to complete B on your own and be ready for class. So for class, you should be doing exercise 4B. You should have that done when you come into class. You should also have exercise 1, B, C, F, G, and I done when you come into class. And that's what we're going to look at to make sure you get a full credit on your homework.